welcome back to another episode of Talking with Our Traders, a show that dives into the biggest stories in sports and gives you listeners unprecedented access to our odds makers. We start off today's show with a heavy hearts and without one of our co-hosts. Our lead college football odds maker, Joey Fiesel, unfortunately lost a member of his family over the weekend, so he won't be able to join us on today's show. We'd like to send Joey and his family our deepest condolences and just let them know that they're in our thoughts.
Yeah, we left the chair open today in Joey's honour. I just want to say on behalf of all of us on the spaces, in front of the camera and behind the camera, and in the entire Caesars family, we send our love to Joey and the family during the tough time. Glennis, you raised a class act of a son. He's the best in the business of college football. Joey, we love you.
Yeah, no, Joey, you mentioned he's the best at college football, but he does so much more. He's a vital part of our team, our trading team here at Caesars Sportsbook. So it just goes to show you, as much as we all love sports and talk about sports, in the grand scheme of things, they're not important. What's important is family and your loved ones and your friends. Hug your friends and your loved ones every day. Tell them how much you love them, and that's what's really important. And Joey, we're thinking about you. We miss you, and looking forward to having you back, buddy.
Absolutely, well said. And in true Joey fashion, he told us that the show must go on, especially with the Final Four field set for the college football playoff over the weekend. So let's start the show there, guys. The question that everyone's asking, did the college football committee get it right?
I know someone who did. One of our execs in a text thread on Saturday named the four in order, doubled down later in the afternoon and said, I'm adamant this is the Final Four in this order. And he nailed it, so congratulations. Hell of a prediction. I think they did. We discussed it a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't see Florida State getting in because the best four teams have to be in. And right now, Florida State, for me, would be a dog in 8, maybe 9 of any matchup right now.
Right.
And case in point, there are 2 touchdown dogs to Georgia. Granted, one man doesn't make a roster, and it's tough on the other 52 players who deserve to be in the Final Four. But it was obvious the past 3 weeks that without Travis, they're not going to be competitive in the Final Four. Argument for Georgia should have been in, maybe, but the fact that Texas beat Alabama probably made the statements at the end.
Right.
Yeah, no, I would say yes and no. I mean, obviously, for have a Power 5 team to go undefeated and not make it is puzzling. But like Craig said, obviously, if you're talking about the best 4 teams right now, Florida State is not one of them. 2 touchdown underdogs to Georgia. There would be a dog, like Craig said, to a variety of teams. It just sets a dangerous precedent. Like, are we going to start analyzing? Maybe not we know a quarterback's out, but what if a quarterback's having a bad 3-week run? Is the committee going to start questioning that? It just opens up a lot of questions. I mean, next year obviously we're going to an expanded playoff, but there's always going to be it's not just who's number 5, who's number 4. It's going to be who's number 13, who's number 12. So, but I could have seen it either way. But when push comes to shove, the best 4 teams right now, unfortunately, Florida State with the injury is not one of them. But again, they would have had to play it on the field, and who says they couldn't have, if they would have got in, that they couldn't have beaten Michigan. They have a strong defense, strong running game, but unfortunately we'll never know. So I know there are a lot of disappointed people in Tallahassee, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, you said you couldn't see Florida State in it, but if Florida State were playing Michigan, what would the hypothetical spread be? We love hypothetical spreads.
Love hypotheticals. The one thing I always teach my traders is if you're going to put a number up based on whatever data, be prepared to lay it out of your own pocket. So when you put up a hypothetical, I had 17.5, which when I was thinking about it last night, if somebody wanted the plus 17.5, would I lay them? Yeah. If they wanted the minus, I'd probably lay them. So it's a good learning opportunity for traders as well when you're in the business, because some of the times it's a lot of opinion based, other times it's data based, but the company's money is going up against that number, but you should be prepared to lay it out of your own pocket, whether it's $100 or a rather expensive dinner bet, which I'm quite fond of.
You sure are.
Yeah, I would have made it less than 2 touchdowns. I think Michigan and Georgia, to me, are pretty close. I don't know if it's because the fact that people are baking in that, well, maybe Florida State, what type of team are they going to be motivated? Are they going to care? Are they going to, that's a big factor on how the spread is set, I think, right now. But I would have made it less than 2 touchdowns. Like I said, they have a good defense, good running game. But, as we said, all these other teams would be favored over them considerably. So, but yeah, I would have had Michigan a little less than 2 touchdowns against Florida State.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Final thoughts on the Heisman since Bo Nix lost the Pac-12 championship.
This guy called it last week. He literally said, Bo Nix either has 2 trophies Friday night or he has none. So kudos to Adam. He was correct. Like, if he has 2 trophies Friday night, he's got a chance of getting a 3rd, which is most important. Had he got the ball back and had that Heisman moment maybe on a final drive, then yeah, he wins it. But I just think Nix didn't show. The Oregon defense didn't stop Penix all night. Maybe Penix is in the conversation, but he didn't light up the stat sheet either. I mean, 319 yards, a touchdown and a pick. I think it's Daniels' trophy, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's how you play in the big games. And not like Bo Nix played horribly. He had a few short touchdown passes, but yeah, like Craig said, if they would have came back incredulously in the last couple of minutes when they're down 2 scores, then yeah, that might have done something. But obviously not winning, I mean, was kind of a deal breaker. He had to win. He had to, if there was questions, is it he or Daniels? If he would have won the game, then there's the debate. But if they didn't win the game, then it's Jaden Daniels' trophy. Bo Nix is, unfortunately he's on the outside looking in. Had a great season, but it's how you play in those big games. That's what's key. And not that he played poorly, but he just didn't do enough. But they had to win, like I said, and they didn't do it.
Right.
Win for the customers because Daniels was heavily bet with us.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to some NFL. Can you break down the NFL MVP race? We have a new favorite and a bunch of movements. New favorite in Brock Purdy.
Yeah, no, I mean, hard to argue with him being the favorite now. I mean, the Niners just obliterated the Eagles on Sunday.
Is that hard for you?
No, it's not hard. It's another game. The Niners are ready. The Eagles weren't. We talked about how the Eagles, they have issues in the linebacking core, and it was exploited quite easily. Purdy didn't exactly, throw long passes. He just dumped it off to Debo, and the receivers just did the rest, running through that Eagles secondary. So, but no, it makes sense. I mean, it's just a good story. The whole Purdy thing, it's Mr. Irrelevant. I wouldn't say he's lighting it up. He's not putting up huge numbers, but he's not doing things wrong to cause a team to lose. Obviously, he's got a great supporting cast around him, which helps him. I don't know if that'll affect people's mindset in terms of how they vote, but I think it's a good story, and I think if he keeps putting up decent numbers, I think the MVP trophy is gonna be his. Obviously, Dak and Jalen Hurts, Tua, there are a lot of people still in the mix, but I think Purdy is a deserving favorite right now, and like I said, the narrative and how great a story it would be from coming to where he was, thrown in the mix, even though it was on one of the best teams in the league. That's saying a lot. I know from our perspective, he's a big loser for us, so it's something we don't want to see, but it would be a great story. But it's still open. There's so many games to be played. Obviously, they got a big game coming up against the Ravens. He against Lamar Jackson, so plenty of games to be played. But as of right now, it's hard to argue with Purdy not with him being the favorite.
Sunday will have a big impact as well. I know we'll talk about the game later, but
Yeah.
Cowboys and Eagles. Purdy plus 300, Prescott 325, Hurts 400, Lamar 600, Mahomes 750, and then name your price and the rest.
All right. Well, we're talking about a lot of quarterbacks, but I want to pose the question, is this the year a non-quarterback should win? We've got Tyreek, CMC, and I just feel like we don't have that superstar athletic performance from a QB that we usually have with A-Rod injured, Mahomes not really Mahoming to the normal degree.
Yeah, I think we said it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Where look at the Chiefs without Tyreek Hill now, and look at the Dolphins' improvement with Tyreek Hill. If you want to compare against Calvin Johnson's record, for Hill to have the conversation, he's got to break 2,000 yards. For me to really buy into Hill, although he's the biggest improvement on the Dolphins team besides the head coach, you have to get 2,000 yards in a 16-game stretch to be comparable because he's getting the extra game. So you can bet he's barely on pace just to get over like 2,074. The problem is when Miami play good teams, Hill's average 68.6 yards per game, and MVPs don't do 68.6 yards per game against the best players.
Yeah, you got to put up against the best teams.
Yeah.
Purdy did it last week against the Eagles. No offense to some of the other teams, but beating the Commanders and Patriots teams of the like. it's how you do against the big teams. That's what matters. So, no disrespect to Hill, he's a great dynamic player, and certainly would be deserving of an MVP award. But he's got to perform in those big games to make his case a little better.
All right. Moving on, did the Bills have the best weekend out of all of the wild card contenders?
Before last night's game, maybe. They stayed within a game in the playoffs, which being on a bye is great, so there is a small argument for it. But the chasing pack all caught up as well. The Colts won, Texans won. Jake Browning had a tremendous game last night. His stat sheet was unbelievable. They won. And he's getting more games now. And the Bengals looked good last night. The Bills have got the toughest schedule the rest of the way. It's far and above the hardest one. Next 2 weeks, they've got the Chiefs coming off a loss. They've got the Cowboys potentially off a loss if the Eagles come back from last week's disaster. So the Bills need a lot of help. There's 7 teams vying for 3 spots. You've got Cincinnati, Denver and Pittsburgh with mid-level schedules. And you've got Cleveland, Indianapolis and Houston. They've got 3 of the easiest the rest of the way. So it'll be tough for the Bills, but they absolutely have to win Sunday against the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, it definitely, teams above them lost, but like I said, the Texans and Colts, they won as well. But yeah, their schedule is the biggest obstacle. Like I said, they have to win this week, and then it's Dallas, Chargers, Miami. They got some tough teams to play, so this is it. This is their season almost. They got to get it done against the Chiefs, and seeing the way the Chiefs have played, it's a distinct possibility. You said they should have beaten the Eagles. Look, the losses early in the season to the Jets, losing to the Patriots, losing to the Broncos, those are going to come back to haunt the Bills.
They do, yeah.
Definitely. What's going on in the NFC South, guys? Which team do you think will win that division?
Well, a lot of it rides on this week. Falcons hosting the Buccaneers, 2.5-point favorites. If they win this, they'll go 2 games up on Tampa. But both Tampa the Falcons and the Saints have pretty easy schedules down the stretch. They should hold serve. It might come down to Week 18, Atlanta against the Saints in the Caesars Superdome. So, but right now Falcons are a $2 favorite. Tampa and New Orleans are 4-1, both of them, but they're a game back. But it's the Falcons right now to win. But certainly I could see anything happening. The Falcons' offense has not been good. They're winning a lot of close games, so I could see anything happening here. But they're deserved favorites right now. But that could all change Sunday if Tampa goes in to Atlanta and wins.
Yeah, you've got 3 teams rebuilding, and rebuilding teams don't normally compete for a division, but they're all in the same division, so you've got a chance. Even based on my ratings, I've got the Bucks 18th, Saints 20th, and the Falcons 23rd, so it just shows how close, even on my ratings, with the division standings. Given the quarterback depth, I'd probably lean to the Saints. I make them like a half a win superior right now. They've got the second easiest schedule the rest of the way, so 4-1 seems a bit of value, but buyer beware on this division because it's not great. And if I remember right, was it Seattle that had a losing record and then upset the 1 seed in the playoffs?
That's right.
Yeah,
so they'll be dangerous because they'll get a home game.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was like this last year too, though, right? So we can't be too surprised. This division's always pretty close.
It's one of those divisions you wouldn't touch with a 39.5 pole.
Or maybe it wasn't last year. It was Brady's last year. I remember it was iffy for like weeks.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes it's cyclical. You're going to have a division that's just the teams are just sort of average mid exactly, and you could have a team that's 500 or sub 500 win, but we've seen in the past. It's not surprising, but yeah, it's certainly competitive between these 3 teams, and might be sub 500 or 500 to get the job done in the NFC South.
Right. All right. Well, last night we saw Trevor Lawrence go down in that Monday night game. Some news coming out today. It's might just be a sprain.
High ankle sprain.
High ankle sprain. Yeah. How does this impact their future odds or the next couple of games?
So we went 12-1 to 20s for the Super Bowl, but this was last night when we didn't know the severity of the injury.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes had the same injury last year and played through it. So they haven't ruled him out for Sunday yet, but they need 2 wins from 5 games, which should get them in the playoffs. 10 wins should get you in. The next 2 weeks against brutal defenses at the Browns versus the Ravens. So why risk your future investment in those 2 games? Maybe Beth Hart steals a game, but after that, they've got the Bucks, the Panthers, and the Titans. Just get healthy, and you'll win 2 of those games. You should win all 3.
Yeah, exactly what Craig said. But yeah, no, it's certainly, everybody was holding their breath. The air went out of the stadium last night. Anytime your franchise quarterback goes down is huge. But yeah, like I agree with Craig. It's like, high ankle sprains, Mahomes played through it, but they say it's like a 3 to 4 week. I'm no doctor, but they say it's like a 3 to 4 week type of injury. But yeah, why risk it? Just save yourself for those teams, like Craig said. Those are 3 beatable teams, and 10 wins should get you. They should get those wins from those last 3 games. But obviously, not. You don't want your star quarterback going down this late in the season. And we'll see how he is. We still haven't heard the full story.
Yeah.
Here's my question: Did you guys see him walking? Why couldn't they get him a cart?
So I was literally about to say that because when Rodgers tore his Achilles in the first game and he's walking off, Lawrence last night, it's just, hang on, with somebody with very bad joints and very bad feet, I'm not walking if I've done that.
No. He was walking once he was back into the stadium.
Crazy.
It was insane.
I think it's a pride, it's a pride thing, as well, and adrenaline, and you want to show that you're tough, but yeah, hopefully he didn't do any extra damage.
Yeah.
Right. It was hard
Yeah,
to
I agree.
watch.
It's like, you had that injury. It looks horrible. Why are you walking? I get it, but don't. You're not going to tell him what to do. He'll do.
I'm sorry.
So you think that was his call? They had the cart somewhere.
You would think. You would think, but yeah, he got up. The player who was the player for
helped him up.
Was helping him up. Like what and
Yeah,
then he tried to get up and he went right down. But yeah, I'm sure the trainers were
I'm like, get me
holding their
that
breath
card straight
there.
away.
Yeah. Well, let's go over updated NFL power rankings. Who wants to start?
All right.
Craig?
They're finally not top anymore. So the 49ers number 1, Ravens number 2.
Oh.
On a neutral field, I'd make the 49ers 2 points superior to Baltimore right now.
Okay.
Eagles 3. Yeah, they got rolled, but they've just rolled 4 or 5 good teams as well. So the Eagles, just one loss doesn't end the season. They still control their own destiny, and they got a great wake-up call against a huge divisional matchup. Chiefs 4, because, form is temporary, class is permanent, remember that. Cowboys 5, and the Bills stay 6th.
All right. Okay. Adam?
I got the Eagles. No, I don't have the Eagles anymore. I got the Niners, same top 3, Niners, Ravens, and Eagles. Then it's tough. I really don't know what to have, but I said I tepidly went with the Lions just because I think the Lions I think they're going to improve down the stretch, and I think they're going to sort of get out of this little funk that they're in. Then the Chiefs and the Cowboys and Dolphins. But then, you could throw those last, 4 to 7 teams and put them in a blender. And,
I agree.
I could see any outcome if anybody's ratings have any combination of those. So, but I think the top 3 are pretty, especially the top 2.
Yes.
Are pretty solid and cemented as of now.
And they play each other Christmas Day.
That's right.
Ooh.
Yep.
Must watch. Okay, let's do game previews. Thursday Night Football, we have the Steelers versus the Patriots. Guys, this has to be the lowest game total in some time.
The lowest in 2 years, which was 32 points, the Browns and the Saints. But that was in 30-mile-an-hour wind. It was impacted. Then you have to go back all the way to 1993 for lower ones. So it's the joint 3rd lowest total at 30. But in 1993, there was a 28 and a 29-point total. Again, significant weather. There was like a polar vortex across America. So that's why. Bad teams and bad weather usually equals low totals. It's cold. But it's going to be cold at kickoff on Thursday night. I'm way lower on the total, and I favour the Steelers slightly more, but the quarterback issues could curtail that interest for me. But as we said with Iowa, don't be scared of these low totals. This year totals of 37 or less are 10-2 and 1 to the under.
Wow.
Yeah. And the Steelers are under teams. They're 10-2 to the under, and the Pats are 9-3 to the under. So everything that just goes into this 30-point total is there. Would it surprise me if I saw a defensive touchdown in the game? Probably not, which is usually the bad news if you're on the defensive touchdown hurt.
Yeah, no, line opened 6.5 and 32, now it's 6 and 30, but everything points to under in this game. I mean, obviously the injury to Pickett, not that Kenny Pickett was was a great offensive talent, and Mitch Trubisky's in, but just everything surrounding. It's mostly the Patriots. I mean, sorry, Cindy, but we got to talk. I mean, this offense is
Oh, trust me.
It's legendarily not good right now, and it's amazing how we've talked about how the mighty have fallen, but it's been pretty quick. I mean, they scored 6, 7, and 0 their last 3 games, and they've say it. What was the stat you were talking about?
Yeah.
What 10 points? Haven't given up more than 10 points, yet they've lost all 3 games. So
it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, look, the Patriots are bad. They're going to battle the Panthers for the worst record, and a franchise quarterback is definitely
give me the worst record. I want it.
Yeah, well, the Panthers probably aren't taking a quarterback first since they just got Bryce Young, unless they want to move on.
Well, they don't. The Bears have the pick.
Yeah, and the Bears are in there as well.
The Bears have the Carolina pick.
All right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
so the Bears are cheering on the Patriots.
Yeah,
to
that's true.
Some points.
That's true. Forgot about that, but yeah, so it's the level of offensive futility. It's pretty strong, and I think this sort of goes back to last year's Thursday game was the Broncos and Colts, which was one of the least anticipated Thursday night games. But look, it still means something for the Steelers. They're still in the playoff hunt. It's a game they have to have. They had a game they had to have last week, and they lost to Arizona, which they should have won no matter who was quarterback and whether Pickett got injured or not. But as far as you talk about must see, San Francisco and Baltimore. This is like the polar opposite. So
unless you're a defensive person,
unless you love defense,
in.
and it doesn't mean I always like everybody says, oh, this game's going to be bad, but you never know. I mean, if you're looking for, there could be drama in a 3-0 or 6-3 game. You never know what you're going to get. So obviously most viewers will be fans of those teams, you would think, but. Maybe some people will be tuned into the NBA in-season tournament or a full slate of hockey that night. But, yeah, it looks like points are going to be hard to come by, and we'll see where the total. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes south of 30 when it comes to kickoff.
Right. These teams have tension, though. I feel like every time they play, there is some tension.
Well, it's Tomlin versus the Patriots. And they met often.
He does not.
This is not the same.
Either.
Yeah, this is not the same Patriots. But the game's huge for Pittsburgh. They have to win this game. I mean, they can't let another a winnable game slip away.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next we have Chiefs versus Bills. Chiefs coming off of that loss. Who wants to start?
Chiefs minus 2.5, 47.5. It'll be cold, but there's no significant weather. The Bills have actually won 2 of the last 3 against the Chiefs, and the one loss was that stunning game with the overtime where how many points they scored in the last 2 minutes was crazy.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, the Bills are coming off a bye, got a bit healthier. They have to keep their season alive, so it's an absolutely must win. Because of Lawrence's injury and the Jags lost last night, the Chiefs have got another opportunity at the 1 seed. Although they're not the number 1 seed right now, Miami's got 3 brutal games at the end of the season. Miami's not winning the 1 seed. Chiefs are 7-1 against the spread as a field goal or less home favourite since 2018. Huge under teams, both 8-4. Must win for both. Green Bay kept Kansas City in that game Sunday night. So many mistakes, but who had the ball last? So there was every opportunity. So the Chiefs will be dangerous, but these two. There hasn't been a boring matchup with these two in a while.
No.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, 2 of the the better teams in the AFC in the last few years. But yeah, it's game open 3-48. It's now down to 2.5 and 47.5. We may have talked about the Bills and how much this means to them. I mean, it's a big one for the Chiefs as well. I mean, it's like we said that they just don't seem to have that spark. The last started with the Broncos loss.
Right.
Then they went to Germany and barely held on against the Dolphins. Against the Eagles, they didn't score in the second half against the Eagles either. Now they lose to the Packers, who albeit are playing much better. But there's just something about it. There's not that spark. But the thing about Patrick Mahomes, he's earned the credibility. He's earned the trust. You cannot rule him out. It'd be foolish to rule the Chiefs out at this point. But it's obviously a huge game for Buffalo. But if the Chiefs win this game, they still have a shot at that 1 seed. They got the Patriots, the Raiders, the Bengals. Although the Bengals played well last night, but it's not Joe Burrow's Bengals. So they've got a decent and easy remaining schedule. So it's big for both teams. Obviously, probably more so for the Bills and their playoff future. But yeah, just something about the Chiefs is just not clicking as it's been in years past. So and you rarely see them below a field goal at home. But against the Bills, they've had some entertaining matchups. Yeah. And I would expect nothing less this time than a close game.
Who do you guys like?
Only because of the stats, I'll take the Chiefs.
Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I had to, I'd lean to the Chiefs.
Lean to Chiefs?
Very tepid lean to the Chiefs.
Okay.
Well, if somebody's in attendance I'll take the Bills. If somebody's not in attendance, I'll take the Chiefs.
She who shall not be named.
Yes, like Voldemort.
Yeah. If it goes into overtime, you know I got the Chiefs.
Fun story. When that game happened in overtime, I was actually having dinner with the NFL.
Really?
Yeah, we were watching it in the restaurant. It's crazy ending.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Josh Allen in overtime. It's honestly.
His
I
record's
feel
terrible.
for him. Yeah, it's bad.
Is it 0-6, 0-7?
Yeah, it's really bad. Okay, well, Sunday Night Football is spicy as well. We have Cowboys versus Eagles. I always love a good divisional rivalry. Adam, do you want to start or do you want Craig to start? I'm going to give you
I'll start.
the opportunity.
I'll start. I mean, obviously, it's the second chapter of this year's. It's the biggest rivalry in football, and a lot on the line. Obviously, things changed quite dramatically last week. Line opened Dallas 3-51.5. It's now 3.5 and 53, and not surprising when you see what happened last week to the Eagles. They just got dominated, frankly. You know, in the last three quarters, the Niners went up and down the field against them. The Eagles could do nothing to stop them. Looked like it was getting close when they had the whole sideline incident between the head of security and Greenlaw, and he got ejected.
Yeah.
They both got ejected, and the Eagles cut it to 7, but the Niners went right down. And then it was one-way traffic. They just couldn't do anything to stop them. So obviously that pinpoints holes in the Eagles' defense, which I'm sure Dallas is going to try to exploit. Eagles signed Shaq Leonard from the Colts. Whether he'll make a difference right away, who knows? I don't think it's going to be a quick fix in that regard. But, yeah, it's a huge game, obviously. The Eagles got the one-game lead in the division. Dallas should be chomping at the bit. I mean, it looks like they have got a wounded animal. But sometimes, the Eagles had a tough run. We mentioned all the tough teams they played. 3 games in 13 days. A lot was going against them there. A Niners team that obviously wanted revenge for the NFC Championship last year. So it wasn't a bad loss losing to them, just the manner of which they lost. Being beaten by 23 points.
Right.
So the Cowboys will definitely be licking their chops. But we've talked about it. Dallas has not beaten a team with a winning record this year. They struggled against Seattle. Barely won last Thursday. They've had a few extra days off. That also works well in their favor. But for the Cowboys, this is a game that it obviously means a lot, but they have to prove that they can beat a team with a winning record and not just beat up on teams with 500 or sub-500 records. And it looks like the right time to play the Eagles, but as we've seen, some teams, it's just a blip on the radar, and it's just something, a bounce is due next week. They look bad how many times have we seen it? A team looks horrible one week, looks great the next week. So, emotions will be high. It's always is when these two teams meet, but obviously what happened last week, it looks like the Cowboys, if they don't do it this time, this might be their best shot, to finally prove people that, hey, we can beat a team with a winning record. So a lot more on the line for Dallas, but I'm not too worried about the Eagles, but definitely some holes in their defense. But people knew about their linebacking core was the weakest part, and it was exploited. So we'll see if Sean Desai can drum something up to compensate and stop what happened last week from happening again. But it's going to be a great game. Can't ask for a better primetime game than this one.
Agreed.
Yeah, look, the division could be decided on Sunday night if the Eagles bounce back and win. Of the last 5 meetings in Dallas, the Cowboys have won them all. They're 4-1 against the spread and 4-1 to the over against the Eagles. As Adam said, they beat nobody with a winning record at home. And last week, that was the first time they failed to cover the spread at home. The Seahawks gave them absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Seahawks were desperate. The Eagles will come in desperate. It's possible the motivation with the 49ers for the championship game. One eye on the Cowboys next week. The Eagles still control their own destiny. So the only opinion I have is you have to look at the over. It just screams over.
Yeah.
But I could see an argument for the Cowboys are in form, but be careful with the wounded animal. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles came out and dominated and put it to them. It's a divisional game.
I mean, everything looks like it's a Cowboys victory is on the cards. I mean, the Week 9 game where the Eagles won, but a couple inches either way, and Dallas wins that game.
Yeah.
So, we talked about it all year that the Eagles are barely winning. They've only beaten 2 wins have been by double digits against Tampa and Miami. So they haven't exactly been, blowing people off the field. But it's about getting wins, and again, I don't see it. It's concerning, but not concerning at the same time. But I said this is Dallas's. This is a game where I think a lot of people after last week thinking, hey, and what happened earlier in the season, sets up nicely for a Dallas win. But stranger things have happened.
Does Dallas have the weakest strength of schedule out of all of the teams?
I think so, yeah. They
Yeah.
did,
All right.
I didn't look, but I knew they did.
Yeah.
Miami and Dallas were the
From
top two.
an eye's view, obviously I'm not
Yeah.
doing calculations, but
Yeah.
They haven't had to handle too much. But okay, we'll see. So we like the Eagles.
I like the over.
Yeah,
Craig likes the over.
I would say over. I mean, look at common opponent. Both teams got shredded by the 49ers. So, it'll be interesting. But as an Eagles fan, it pains me to say it. Just, and like you said, the record. Dallas has done well against Eagles recently at home. So.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I did not know that.
Yeah, but Eagles got some big holes to fix, and they better address them because Dak and CeeDee Lamb could have a monster day.
I got it wrong. Dolphins had the easiest schedule. Dallas the 31st easiest.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Well, we'll see. Are you guys ready to get into some overreactions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Overreaction or not, Shane Steichen should win Coach of the Year.
I will say overreaction for now, but slightly. Shane Steichen, former Eagles offensive coordinator, going to the Colts in his first year, has done a phenomenal job. They're 7-5. He's also a former UNLV Running Rebel quarterback.
Really?
So I think we should mention that.
Wow.
But no, right now my pick is D'Amico Ryans. Obviously, they're battling both in the same division, but the Texans were figured to be worse off than the Colts were, even though both teams were triple-digit odds to win the Super Bowl before the season started. But he's done a great job. Dan Campbell's a favorite right now, plus 175. Steichen is at 475. Ryans is at 12-5, plus 240. I give the edge myself to Ryans. I put more stock in if a team comes from nowhere or the prognosticators, don't figure they're going to do well and they do well and buck everybody's predictions.
Right.
I favor that more. Detroit and Campbell, everybody knew that, all right, the way they finished last year, they're a very popular pick before the season started. So, Campbell could win, but I like the teams that sort of come from nowhere. And the job both of those, Ryans and Steichen, have done have been phenomenal. But right now I lean Ryans, but Steichen's definitely in the mix. But overreaction for now, slightly, of him winning it.
Yeah, mid-reaction. After Lawrence's injury last night, the door's wide open for one of those two teams to win the division. The Colts are doing it without their rookie pick, Anthony Richardson, who is a stud. The Texans are doing it with a healthy Rookie of the Year quarterback winner. So whoever wins the division deserves it.
Right. Okay. Well, who would win Coach of the Year if it was only for teams that played in December?
They do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who would that be?
Certain Green Bay head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads us into
The
our
one that I had
next...
favourites to be fired a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's like 16-0 in December. I mean, given he had Aaron Rodgers for...
And
all
Brett,
that.
whatever, yeah.
Overreaction
Still
or not,
impressive.
though, the Packers are the best team in the NFC North right now. We're including all the months in this.
Overreaction. Lions would still be at least a field goal favourite for me on a neutral field. The Packers did everything in their power to lose on Sunday. I mean, I was having a Slack thread with one of the traders, like, why you keep going out of bounds? Why are you stopping the clock constantly?
Yeah.
When you've got the Chiefs, the last thing you want to do is give Mahomes the ball last. The constant errors, that one big pass Jordan Love threw off his back foot.
Yeah.
It was like a luck.
Yeah.
Well, that was
Touchdown?
pure luck. That, was
Yeah.
that should never have been called. Are they the most improved? Yes. Are they the best? No.
Yeah, overreaction as well. Lions are still the best, even
Yeah.
though Green Bay went in Thanksgiving and laid a beating on the Lions. But yeah, no, it's 3 solid wins in a row by the Packers and beating the Chiefs. I mean, we talked about it last week. The Chiefs. And we talked about it again just a few minutes ago that the Chiefs are just don't seem to have that same spark this year, and the Packers are on a roll. Love's playing better. But no, they're not. Even though they beat the Lions recently, I still rate the Lions ahead of the Packers. But they're playing well. They got an easy schedule lined up. I mean, Tenants, their toughest game is at Minnesota, which is definitely a winnable game.
Right.
Packers could. I think they're. I like them to make the
they made the
playoffs.
playoffs.
Yeah. Their schedule is very favorable. If they continue on this progression, you can add to that 16-0 December record.
Yeah.
Could get a little worse. I mean, it's not going to take a lot. One loss will make it worse, but yeah, it's their schedule sets up very nicely for them. But no, still the Lions I rate them better than the Packers, even though the Packers are playing phenomenal.
They're what, third in their division right now? Packers?
Tied with the
Is it
Vikings.
the Vikings? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Overreaction or not, Brock Purdy is not mid.
Statistically speaking, so if I looked at the stats, the mid quarterback is Jordan Love. Okay, he's dead center in all the statistics. So Purdy's above mid.
Right.
Is he world class mid? No. Plus 300 for the MVP suggests he's not mid.
Right.
He's tied for completion percentages with Dak and Tua. There's 0.01 in it. He's 7th in passing, 4th in touchdown passes, so not really leading the big categories. 50% of his passing yards come yards after the catch, so his wide receivers are bailing him out.
Carrying him.
He's the benefactor of a great defense, a great running game, and a great coach. So the huge benefits. I mean, they've got 3 players in the top 20 in yards after the catch. Only the Chiefs have more than one. That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree with Greg. He's definitely not mid, but again, he's not leading in those major categories.
It's not Joe Montana.
Yeah, no. But again, we talked about a few minutes ago just how great a story it is, and why he's MVP favorite. It's not surprising, but yeah, it's a lot of yards after catch. He's not leading in passing yards, touchdowns. But again, the thing with Purdy, he just hasn't made mistakes.
Yes.
I've seen so many rookie quarterbacks come in and make mistakes that cost their team. Obviously, he's surrounded by a great supporting cast. So a lot of first-year players, starting quarterbacks, don't get to go in and play for a team like the 49ers. So he's had the benefit of that. But again, when you're talking about awards and being a favorite for an MVP, there's a lot of narrative there. And just his ride from Mr. Irrelevant to MVP in a short period of time would be a tremendous story. But no, he's definitely not mid. He's not upper echelon top quarterback in the league. But in a few years, we might be talking about him like that. I mean, if he's doing this well right now, even with the great supporting cast, no reason to think why he can't. Those numbers can't keep improving year after year. But yeah, he's getting a lot of help from his friends. But what he's done is phenomenal. It's not easy stepping into that situation. A team that's expected to win and have all that pressure.
Yeah.
Hey, just don't mess up. Don't cost us a game. And he hasn't. He has not done that. So all kudos to him.
Isn't it crazy that we're struggling with absolutely saying that the favorite to win MVP is not mid? It's mind-boggling.
It's the supporting
It's
cast.
crazy.
I mean, they're third on offense. The Cowboys and the Dolphins are ahead of them, and there's 2 of your MVP shorter prices. They're second on defense. Lamar's got the best defense. So these quarterbacks that are in the conversation for MVP are getting a lot of help. But also, you've got to factor in there's liability as well. So if we had no liabilities, a 3-1 shot, no.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good call out.
Yeah, said he's definitely our worst of the likely winners of the MVP, so by far. But we take a lot of money from here in Nevada. A lot of Bay Area people come to Nevada and love to bet the 49ers, anything associated with them or any other Bay Area team. And there's some better out there is very pro Purdy with us. And as of right now, he's sitting pretty, but again, a lot can change. But no, you can't discredit what he's done, even though he has a great supporting cast. So it shouldn't be minimized, but again, he's not solely responsible for the Niners' success.
Okay, overreaction or not, Nick Saban is the greatest football coach of all time.
Greatest recruiter, yes. Greatest college coach, possibly. Greatest coach of all time, no. And because of his 15-17 record when he was a Dolphins head coach, he didn't exactly leave a great legacy because Miami went 1-15 the year after. So it's not like he built a structure and disappeared. So is he great? Yes. But overreaction.
Yeah, big overreaction.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, if you change it to great college football coach, yes, definitely one of the best of all times. 7 national championships, one with LSU, the rest with Alabama. Sometimes when you're coach at Alabama, a team like that, you're getting 5 stars, you're getting the top recruits every year. So, I don't want to say that coaching doesn't play. Oh, you just sit back and let you have to coach them. So he's a great coach, but saying the best football coach overall, no, especially with Craig said. He went into the NFL, and not that that's the be-all, end-all, that you have to have NFL success to be a good coach, but he's 15-17. I don't think you can rate somebody the greatest college football or greatest football coach of all time with that short sample, even though it was a losing record in a short sample, but still. One of the greatest college football coaches ever, greatest football coach ever.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think we can even compare college and.
Yeah, it's hard, and that's one thing I don't like. Everybody, people like try. Well, the guy could have been a great college football player, but he's judged on, were you a good NFL player? I mean, the two really have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah,
Right. I think people have to learn to separate it. You stop worrying about how great a player is and judge them on how well they did in the NFL. There's plenty of great college football players that just weren't going to make it in the NFL. It doesn't diminish what they did, whether it's a player or a coach. So we're not diminishing what Saban has done, but again, saying who the greatest of anything is, who knows the answer? No one knows.
Well, we know Craig's answer.
Look what Miami did. They had Jimmy Johnson and Nick Saban, and both times I was over the moon when they hired them, and then disappointed 2 years later.
All right, overreaction or not, Jim Harbaugh will be coaching the Bears next season.
I don't think so, for a number of reasons. Although he did play for the Bears for 14 years, which I didn't realise. The pro for it, the Bears right now own the number 1 pick and the number 5 pick in the draft next year. If they go quarterback route, they might get something in return for Fields, so they might load up on draft picks. There's a new stadium in the works. The ownership needs to make a splash to pay for that stadium, so it would make sense. But then, there's a ton of teams on the list that, why would you risk having the success you got now? He's 59 years old. He's paid $7.3 million a year. And you're at Michigan. You're a favourite to win the title. I mean, that puts him just outside the top 10 NFL coaches. It's not like he's not paid. Right. Interesting enough, though, slightly off subject because he's not going to the Bears. The top 5 paid coaches in the NFL average $2.98 million per win, and their record is 27-33 this year. The lowest 5 paid coaches cost $680,000 per win, and they've got a record of 32-28. 2 of them have winning records. So, the more you throw at the coach doesn't exactly equal success.
Yeah, I'll say overreaction, even though he was a former Bears quarterback, so it wouldn't be surprised if he landed there. But there are plenty of other openings, and it seems like Jim Harbaugh is mentioned for every single opening,
right.
Every major opening that's out there. He's flirted with it before. Obviously he was close to winning a Super Bowl with the 49ers. Yeah. So he's capable, but maybe this year is going to be something that finally steers him back to the NFL. Suspended twice for various reasons. In college, it's different now. It used to be, there's like an off-season. There's no more off-season anymore. College is way more intensive with the transfer portal than it's ever been. Does he want to deal with that when you can just go to the NFL and not have there's player movement, but it's nothing like the transfer portal and what it is in college athletics. Make natural sense since he was a former Bear, but he'll have his pick of the litter. But like I say, he's coaching at his alma mater. How much does that mean? But how much does he want to put up with all the nuances now of college football compared to seemingly easier? You have an off season. There's a break. He can relax. There's no break. There's no relaxing in college athletics anymore when you're a coach. You're constantly recruiting. You're still recruiting your own players because you don't want them to leave. So that might be something that steers him back to the NFL, especially if he wins a national championship this year. The Super Bowl is something that he was close to and didn't get. So maybe that, I think it's more likely that he jumps to the NFL if they do win the national championship this year. But that's a big if. But he'll have his pick wherever he wants to go.
Did I see 1,000 college people into the transfer portal?
Over 1,000.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes with challenges, but if you pay $7.3 million a year, should be taking a day off anyway.
Yeah.
Good point.
It's almost like your salary.
Okay, guys, let's get into some weekly game predictions. Mm-hmm. Who wants to start?
I have a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
So there is some significant weather this week. Mm-hmm. Bengals, Jets, Bears, Browns, Ravens, all scream unders because of the weather. Rain or snow mixed with wind. The 2 worst ones are the Bears and the Ravens. In Chicago, it's 20-mile-an-hour wind and a snowstorm. And in Baltimore, it's 90% chance of rain and 18 miles an hour wind. So give me those 2 unders and throw in the parlay of the Cowboys over.
I'll go with one prediction. And I don't think it's all based on what happened last night, but I'm going to go with the Bengals +1 at home against the Colts. Is Jake Browning going to put up the numbers that he did last night again? Don't think so. But look, he had a rough game the week before against the Steelers. Maybe he's got that confidence now. You know, the team, they have a good supporting cast. Obviously, their defense leaves a lot to be desired. But I think being a small home dog against the Colts, look, the Colts have won 4 in a row, but it hasn't exactly been against the creme de la creme of the league. It's been the Patriots, the Panthers, the Bucks, and the Titans. The Titans was in overtime. So it's not like they've beaten a bunch of good teams. As much as we talked about how great Shane Steichen's doing with the Colts, it's been a good job, but maybe this win really starts putting the Bengals. They're back in the playoff picture. And this is a big, obviously every game's a big game, but I kind of think they should be a small favorite based on what we've seen of Browning. Although the bounce factor, I always talk about it, you know, you look great one game, it can come crashing down the next week. So wouldn't surprise me, but I think they should be favored, so I'm going to take the Bengals +1 against the Colts.
I don't think they'll be calling a wide receiver pass next week. That's
Definitely, yeah. I think
cost
that
them
play
10
is,
points last
yeah,
night.
I think that's out of the playbook.
Yeah.
All right.
Any
What's your
predictions
pick?
from you?
You got your last one in. You had the Raiders covering the spread, didn't you,
Yeah,
against the
I
Dolphins?
did.
Yeah.
I want to do something like random. I'm gonna do.
Patriots team total under.
No, I will stick with that
That'd
game
be
though.
better.
Let's do like Ezekiel Elliott, like anytime touchdown score. I think he's getting the start.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm feeling that.
Cold weather, it's easier to, the running game becomes more prevalent. So
Right.
it's not out of the realms of possibility.
All right, well, we will see. Okay, guys, thank you everyone for joining our talk with the traders. This entire conversation will be uploaded to our YouTube tomorrow. So if you'd love to see these guys' lovely faces, please make your way over there. If you don't follow us already, at Caesar Sports on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Guys, anything to say to our listeners before we end?
Check the weather report this weekend.
Friendly reminder.
Always check the weather.
Yes, always.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.